and that's when I think I actually just hit it out of my life. Like, I'm just going to keep doing the thing I'm doing. And once I got to pharmacy school, I was like, holy crap, this is real. In 4 years, I'm going to be a pharmacist, and that's going to be my life for the rest of my life. And I was so blessed to have a way out, I guess. But then I think about it, everyone has a way out. No matter what you're doing right now, you can decide to stop, change the course of what you're going, and completely start something new. And I didn't start something new, but I would say it was that moment that really changed it all.
Welcome, everybody, to the Pay It Forward podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Austin Seward, along with my co-host, Keegan Walls. And today we have the pleasure of having on my good friend, Mike Davis. Mike is the founder of Davis Landscape and Construction in the Milwaukee area. Been a friend of mine for a very long time. So really excited to have you here, Mike.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's an honor. Love what you guys have been putting out, and I'm excited to see where this one goes today.
Well, yeah, very excited to have you on. And our guests and listeners might not know this, but can you confirm, because you and Austin have been best friends for a super long time, but now you guys live in different cities. So is it true that when you guys like reunite, you guys still greet each other with like a kiss on the lips?
Just a handshake and a good hug.
I'm sure a really good hug.
Oh, what did I sign up for?
Well, in all seriousness, how did you get started in mowing lawns, Mike?
Man, this takes me back to when we first met. You had started a landscape company to pay for college, and we went on a bear hunting trip to Montana. And I was a pharmacy tech at Walgreens back in Franklin, Wisconsin, and I was the captain on the baseball team my senior year of high school. And working at Walgreens, they said, hey, you're either going to have to quit working or playing baseball as much, skip some games. We're going to have to let you go, or we're going to have to find out something else. I was already doing school and doing 30 hours a week at Walgreens. I told them to pound sand, not in that way, but I ended up leaving, focusing on baseball, and then one summer really opened up. I had to figure out a way to make money. My story is kind of unique because I'm not coming from this super rich family, not coming from this super broken family. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, just this average guy living an average life. And I still kind of am, just in different ways. And so I ended up quitting at Walgreens. I went to work at just a vet clinic for a year and a half, and that's when me and you were hanging out more. We went on that hunt. You're like, dude, I'm making a ton of money doing this. And I started doing it just as a side hustle. And then and my cousins came on, and it went from me and my cousin to me and my 3 college buddies to 5 college buddies. And then I quit the vet clinic. I actually owe the vet clinic a shout out because they let me manage their 3 properties. And that was actually a big start in getting my foot in the door in this industry. And long story, short story, we went from me and my cousin to we're up to 20-some employees now and have multiple locations, and I'm sure we can dive into more of that later, but that's kind of a short glimpse of what we're going to step into today.
Awesome. So what did it take to get started? I mean, I know from my experience, but for those that are listening, what does it take to start a landscaping business?
So it took a young guy who wanted to make some money and basically bought my first lawnmower, and they had a 0% interest rate at this place. I had to get my dad to co-sign for me for a $5,000 lawnmower, and I didn't need it, but it would help it close faster. So I ended up getting a 0% interest loan for 3 years on this mower. I did door-to-door sales for 2 days, locked up a handful of homes and the vet clinics. And for the first year, all we did was mow grass. Mowing grass led to some smaller landscape jobs, which then kicked off into bigger and bigger and bigger. So years 2, 3, and 4 turned into us needing to buy another truck, another trailer, But to get your feet wet, all I needed was a mower, a $500 trailer from Fleet Farm, and a hand-me-down car. So
That's awesome. Yeah, anybody can do it. I got started with my dad's lawnmower. I got started in landscaping before I could even drive a car. So I remember my mom and dad literally taking me to job sites with my dad's lawnmower on his trailer and getting off. They'd wait while I'd mow the lawn or come back and pick me up. So it's got to be one of the lowest barriers to entry, easiest business to get into as a high school kid or college kid. If you don't have a mower, everybody's got a lawnmower. You can find somebody who's got a mower and start knocking on doors to mow lawns. So
absolutely.
So starting out, door knocking was the main way you found customers then?
Absolutely. I literally started on the same street my parents live on, and I still mow almost that entire street.
That's awesome.
And then their friends had friends, and you do a good quality stand-up job for someone, and they are going to recommend your service.
Yeah. What did you ever have a fear of going and door knocking, or is that something that came natural to you? Because a lot of people will shy away from having to do that. They'll put out flyers or they'll make a Facebook post, but it takes some guts to go and knock on somebody's door out of the blue and have a cold conversation with them.
It is. It's awkward at first until you make it not awkward. It's kind of like sitting down here. The first 30 seconds is like, this is weird. There's a microphone in front of me. But then it's like, oh, this is the same conversation we were just having while we ate lunch.
Totally.
So after you do one or two, I think you get over that. And if you struggle with it, that's kind of a cool hurdle to overcome, because once you do overcome it, you're going to see a million more hurdles. If we sat down and talked about every problem I've had over the last 8 years of running this company, we'd be here till Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think that was a hard part to overcome. And actually I tried Facebook. I tried like little flyers and just driving around and putting them in mailboxes. And I could spend 3 hours doing that, 5 hours doing that. And I might get one person to give me a call back. But when you do door-to-door sales and you personally hand someone a card, one out of every 5 people was calling back. So it was awesome. As far as timing goes, time return on investment, and if time is an investment, that was the way to go. And then once you do that and do a good enough job, word of mouth is going to be your biggest sales.
So that was early on. That was in high school still?
That was in high school, senior year.
Senior year in high school. So was it junior year in high school, quit Walgreens?
Yep. So it was actually senior year of high school, quit Walgreens. That was in like March, April, May-ish. The snow had just disappeared and baseball had just started. We were only a few weeks into the season, and that's when that happened. And actually, my goal was to pay for college, to go to pharmacy school. So I lived at home to save money, was saving up, doing landscaping to pay for undergrad because my parents weren't paying for it. And my goal was to get into UW-Madison for pharmacy school. That's where my dad went. When you're a young kid, you always look up to your role model. What do I got to do to get there? My dad is a pharmacist. In fact, my whole family's in healthcare. And so that was the plan. That was the goal. And actually it happened. I got early accepted as a junior into UW-Madison's pharmacy program through their early admission process. And when I got there, that's when everything changed. The world felt different. It was kind of like, as a young man, you work your whole, since I was in second grade, kindergarten, I was putting, what do you want to be when you're older? Pharmacist. I thought they had this life where you could live, you can watch, my dad got to watch every one of my sports games. When I was a freshman, he could come to my baseball or football game on a Monday afternoon at 2:00. I thought that they had the world by the balls, and they were free. But it's not till I got out of high school and into college that I found out what freedom really was. And there's freedom with your time, but there's also financial freedom. And the world of business has opened that up, because it doesn't only free up your time, but it frees up your financials in some ways. Starting out, that was not the case. But going back to pharmacy school, I got in at Madison. I was there.
It's not an easy school to get into at all.
It wasn't. It was a lot of time doing undergrad work. It was actually nice having my cousin, Casey, with me throughout undergrad. Me and him, it kind of felt like a group project. Like, hey, what do I'm struggling with this. Oh, you got to figure it out. Okay. Help the other person through. And we both got early accepted. And that was actually one of the hardest parts about leaving, is because we both had the same goal. And I was, after a lot of talk with people. Prayer was the biggest thing. I've never had a feeling like that before. When I got there, I felt like the black sheep. We would go to class. I was there for a month and a half. I got to go through some exams and go through the process. And everyone in pharmacy school was like opposite of what undergrad was like. It was like, hey, could I get help? Mind you, these are all 4.0 kids. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the reason I felt like the black sheep, because I was the middle of the road, 3.5, 3.7 guy.
Just the average guy.
Just the average guy. And I ended up talking with the admissions coordinator and telling her my story, what's going on. I was leaving the classroom taking phone calls because I was still running the business.
Which was doing well at that time. Right?
Which was doing well. We had 5 employees just in the Milwaukee market at the time. And we were, every day I was leaving class to at least take one phone call or make some order. And it was awesome, but it was also taking me it kept me looking outside of what I needed to focus on with pharmacy, which was actually a good thing. And I ended up praying for a week straight. I was talking with different business owners in my life. There's some people that I really should reconnect with, but I haven't talked to in quite some time now. I remember one of my clients at the time, she told me, I remember I was on the 9th floor of my apartment that I was living at in downtown Madison. And she goes, Mike, the best advice that I can give you is no matter what you do in your life, if you're going to be a garbage disposal company, own your own garbage truck. And when I ate dinner that night, I reflected on that. And I'm like, wow, if you can do anything in this world as long as you own it and you run it and you're going to be better off, that really set me on a path to where I am now. And I talked with different pharmacists. I talked with the weird part about this is I wasn't able to talk to my dad because he was on a 2-week elk hunt out in Colorado, I believe. So he had no phone service for 2 weeks. So when I ended up dropping out and he got home and got the service and he got the call from my mom or the text, he called and congratulated me.
Really?
It was very weird because he was definitely a guide to get to where I had worked so hard to get. And I remember praying the night before I walked into the admissions coordinator office. I remember no one was at the apartment. I was sitting there. I went to bed early, and I was just staring at the ceiling praying. And it was probably one of the longer prayers I've ever said. I mean, I think it was like 30 minutes long, and it felt like God walked in the room with me and whispered in my ear that, it's time to take another path. It was so surreal. I haven't had a moment like that since. I pray often. I'm not the guy that prays super long. I'm more the guy that prays very consistently, and I don't often pray 10 minutes, but I pray every 10 minutes is kind of the person I am. And that is the pivotal moment of that move to drop out of pharmacy school. So, and that set me off on a path that I have never looked back at.
So how long were you in college for?
So I was in undergrad for 3 years, and then I got accepted to Madison my junior year. So it would have been my senior year of college. It was in Madison's PharmD program, and was in there for a month and a half maybe.
Wow.
Dropped out, and I did go back to Parkside and got basically online classes to take, and I needed like 20 credits to finish off my degree. I'm like, I might as well have it in my back pocket. But I kept going with landscaping. I actually told myself the whole time, landscaping is just a stepping stone. At first, it was just a way to pay for college. Then it turned into a way of, oh my gosh, I can actually make real money. I can make more money than a pharmacist doing this. And that was another reason I dropped out, is because even with 5 employees, we were doing enough revenue a year that I was almost
more than you would have as a pharmacist.
I was
going to school to be a pharmacist.
And it was crazy. And those 3 years of doing it for my first 3 years of college was a complete learning experience. I had no idea how to run a business. My family had no idea how to run a business. Every single person in my family, both sides, has worked for the man. No one has run their own business. They've all worked for the man. They know how to pay taxes. They know how to work hard. They all have great jobs, great work ethics. but no one has run their own business. So I remember when I told my dad that I quit at Walgreens and I was going to be, start this landscaping thing. I got a buddy doing it, and he goes, "Oh, that's a bad idea. You shouldn't do that. It's going to require a lot of time, effort." And I think he's pretty happy that I didn't listen to him on that one.
Yeah.
So
what are some other things that people were saying about you in that time when you made that decision? Obviously, your dad supported you, which is awesome. Is that something you expected him to show support for like that, or?
I wasn't I was expecting him to show support, but I wasn't expecting it to come like you could feel that he was actually happy, proud.
Yeah.
And it was weird because he had a reputation at Madison. He takes residents every year. He knows the admissions coordinator. He knows everyone, and not everyone, but knew some people at the time there.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I was surprised because that could represent him too, me quitting. We have a very tight family and tight friend group, so I was a little not nervous, but like, I wonder what they're going to think about me for doing this. And I felt bad I left my cousin there because we've done this whole thing together. He's my best friend. Like, what's going to happen? And he actually stuck it through. He's got a very, very good job in industry now, which is seems like the place to be if you're a pharmacist. But it was very nerve-wracking, and I think there was a month or two where I was like, not down in the dumps, but like relieved, but also I wonder what people are thinking me. After that month and a half, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do what is best for me. And I reflected on everything everyone had told me, my prayer, and continued to pray. And I've really gone down a pretty decent path, ended up surrounding the company with some really awesome employees, people that have really bought in. And it's been the best decision I've ever made in my life. Pivotal life decision.
That's incredible. I think a lot of people in that situation with that upbringing of having family that's always been W-2, that has the safety and the security and stability that a job provides, and a good job. I mean, being in a pharmacy makes a respectable income, and but I think a lot of people probably would let other people's opinions prevent them from making that decision, right? What are people going to think? I'm starting a landscaping business, right? And I remember back when I was in landscaping, I thought the same thing. This is just a stepping stone. Like, I don't want to be a landscaper forever. And I told that to a guy who owned a very successful landscaping company that lived in my neighborhood. He said, "Why? Why don't you want to be a landscaper?" "Oh, I don't know, this and that." And I didn't give him a straight answer, but in my head I was like, I don't know, kind of like a landscaper. I don't know. I saw myself as wanting to achieve greater things than being a landscaper. But seeing what you do now, it's like, man, if I would have stuck it out, like, you can do some really cool things with this, and you can lead people and run a really cool business and a very, very successful business. I just didn't see at the time. I couldn't see it past mowing lawns myself. So I think that's a lesson to be learned for a lot of people, to make that decision regardless of what other people are going to think. You did what was best for you. You had the clarity. You sought wisdom from mentors in your life, from praying to God, and he gave you complete clarity. And in that moment, you have to say yes to that. You can't let other people's opinions prevent you from not making that decision. So
Absolutely.
Obviously it turned out for the better.
There is so much more to that industry than I ever thought.
Yeah.
I think last I looked, it's a $216 billion industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in 2 markets now that you would think would be extremely, way too many landscapers in those areas. I think I saw like 4 different landscape trucks that I've never heard of driving here today. And I can't believe, that there's room, and I feel like there's no competition. I give an estimate, and we win the bid. I swear we win 9 out of every 10 bids that we supply. And at least on the residential side, commercial, there's a little bit more competition involved. But it's an industry that I feel has become extremely needed in our society. A lot of, my 2 markets, there's people coming up from Illinois. There's people coming from Minnesota and Michigan that have lake homes in Wisconsin, especially Illinois. And they're spending ridiculous amounts of money on landscaping. And we've got to do some really cool projects in the last 3 to 5 years since I've stepped away from pharmacy.
So what all do you do then in your because obviously Austin was like, yeah, it's more than just mowing. It is more than just mowing. So what all do you offer?
That's going to be the title of the episode. It's more than just mowing with Mike Davis.
So what all does your company do besides mowing lawns?
So when I started, it was mowing. We transitioned into doing like mulch and plants and stuff like that. And then it transitioned into, hey, I think 2017 or 2018 was where I lived in Franklin. There was a lot of building going on. A lot of people were moving out of the city and into the suburbs like we've seen over the last 10 years. And a lot of new construction was going on. And so when I started, my name was Davis Property Care. You knew that. I still have old shirts and hats that have it. And all my friends still call it that. And we ended up transitioning in right around COVID time to Davis Landscape and Construction. And the reason being is because we still manage like 50 lawns. They keep the lights on at the office. It's not a big part of our company. It helps us keep our trucks and names rolling around town, and we get business that way. But it's not a extremely lucrative, thing with as much overhead as we have now. If you're a single college student doing mowing, you can make a ton of money. You'll make more money than any one of your friends working a W-2 job, hands down. But once you get 3, 4, 5 employees doing it, 3 trucks and trailers and multiple mowers doing it, a lot of overhead, you're lucky if you're hitting that 20% profit margin on that, which 20% is great, except when it's a $100, $200, $300 lawn, it's not as big of a margin. When you're doing a $50, $100, $150, $200,000 landscape project and you're hitting 20, 25%, and you're able to do that in 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, those are the profit margins we transitioned into. So to answer your question, it started in 2015, and by 2017, 2018, we started moving on to more of the construction-based stuff. We were still mowing, probably had 30 lawns at the time. We're up to about 50-some lawns now, and we don't really take on anymore. And the new construction has really propelled us to where we are, and it's what made us change our name. When I was going to builders doing some sales, they were like, Property Care, are you going to take care of our office, or are you going to actually put in a yard for one of my clients? So that was the reason behind the name change, was we wanted to go from a maintenance-based sounding company to a install construction type of company. It's also helped with employees, because now when you're trying to hire someone that's coming from a grading company or a heavy construction company, which we need to operate our excavators and skid steers, isn't going to want to go to a property maintenance company. They want to come to a company that's doing construction-based stuff. So that was all reasons for the name change, and the transition happened because of the work that we transitioned to do. So
I want to take one step back and go back to you making that decision of not wanting to be a pharmacist. So going to pharmacy school, applying for pharmacy school, doing your undergraduate to prepare for pharmacy school, a lot of work goes into that. Did you know in your heart, and did you have a gut feeling in your heart as you're going through that, years before you got into pharmacy school? Did you have the gut feeling that this isn't for me? Or was that something that was more in that moment, within that month of being at pharmacy school, that you really knew?
I would say that I always questioned it a little bit, because I never felt like I looked outside the box. If I could redo it, I'd look back at being a dentist or a vet and stuff like that. I actually did look at vet for a little bit. Actually, one of the guys who wrote my letter of recommendation was one of the vets that worked at the clinic. It really hit me when I got to pharmacy school. This is real. This is happening. And that's when I think I actually just hit it out of my life. I'm just going to keep doing the thing I'm doing. And once I got to pharmacy school, I was like, holy crap, this is real. In 4 years, I'm going to be a pharmacist, and that's going to be my life for the rest of my life. And I was so blessed to have a way out, I guess. But then I think about it, everyone has a way out. No matter what you're doing right now, you can decide to stop, change the course of what you're going and completely start something new. And I didn't start something new, but I would say it was that moment that really changed it all. I think it's because I kept my blinders on.
Yeah.
I think I could have caught it earlier. I wish I would have, because I spent 60 grand, 70 grand on undergrad, and I did get a full refund from Madison, but I'd still had my apartment payment for that year, which was 10 grand. And there were some good parties had, but that was about it. So I would say, if you're listening to this right now, take your blinders off, sit back, reflect, and think about what you really want to do, because you can do anything.
And I think most people do know in their heart and their gut if they're doing something for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, if they're going on the right path or the wrong path. But largely due to what other people think, they continue going down that path. And that gut feeling will never leave you until you do make that decision. So
when I left pharmacy school, it was like the weight of the world crawled off my back.
Yeah.
So that was the pivotal moment in my life.
Yeah. So after that, what do those next 2 years in business look like?
Man, so when I left pharmacy school, we had started to transition into those new constructions. And those next couple years looked like me trying to find people who could do the job better than I could. That was, I think, in these notes that we're totally not following. In here, it mentioned something about a tipping point.
Yeah.
I think I've gone through like 2 or 3 tipping points now with the company, probably more than that, but some big tipping points. There's 2 or 3. And that's happened when we've had to make big equipment purchases, starting another division, and hiring some people that were going to require sizable amounts of money. Those next couple years, I was keeping my lower paid college guys on, and at the time they were, 5 years ago, they were making $15 to $20 an hour, which was good money at the time. Now it seems like everyone's making that, so you got to pay a little higher than that. But they were making good money at the time, and I would have friends that were in construction, and when I needed extra hands and they would they'd start at 5, get off at 2, they'd come help us in the afternoon and help us run skid steers or excavators or whatever we needed. So I was paying guys basically as subcontractors to help us do some of the heavy lifting that had the experience. But that's also transitioned into some of my best employees that we've acquired over the last 3 years. I got 3 to 4 guys right now that are all in foreman type positions, and they all require good money because they have families to feed and houses to pay for, and they are the next step of what I needed to acquire. So over those next couple years after leaving, I've continued to work up until even now on hiring those kind of people and people that fit the vision of our company, and tried to instill that vision within them. And that has really set us off on a fast track to success.
Yeah. How have your leadership skills had to evolve over being Mike Davis with the lawnmower to Mike Davis with his cousin and his high school buddies to now you got families relying on you? Like your foreman guys, they got families, they got houses, and you are their leader. Like you're putting food on their table. So how have your leadership skills had to evolve?
When it first started, you didn't think anything of it. And then once you made that first hire, that first guy who's coming in, he's making a sizable salary or hourly wage, that's when it kind of hit me, at least, of, wow, we're leveling up here. We went from 150 grand a year to 300. We've almost doubled every year since I've started the company. I've always been wanting to have slower growth because I want to do it safely. If I could do it again, I would have totally have taken the cheap money when cheap money was available, and we'd probably be even 3 times bigger. But taking on those people has definitely matured me as a person. The time I dropped out of pharmacy school to now, I've probably grown 20 years in life, even though it's only been 6 years, 5 years since that's happened. But you really take on not a new personality, but you become a new person, And I don't know if it happens in the snap of a finger. I think the daily problems, the daily struggles are what help get you to that point. Working with different clientele, higher up clientele, people that want bigger jobs, that also helps. Working with builders, becoming a part of the industry, so to say, really matures you as a person. And I think that step kind of finds you. I don't know necessarily if you find it. I think as you become that person, those opportunities find you. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. I like it.
So in that, what have been some of the biggest hurdles, roadblocks, or like hindrances, right? Because so your leadership has grown, but then were there pivotal moments like along the way of, okay, I'm managing like 3 college kids to now I got these big time foreman people. Well, that takes business knowledge and savvy on your end to be able to put your company in position to be able to scale and keep those people on, but then also having vision to continue to grow and to continue to scale. How did you like learn some of that stuff? And do you have any big like obstacles or hurdles with that of going from, so to speak, like company A to growing, now we're company B? Like what were some things?
So it's a tough one to answer because it could be a longer answer. I looked to a lot of different, from being in the industry at that point for 5 years, I looked to some businesses that were much bigger than me for answers, people that I've become friends with, people that helped me get those answers. So I definitely looked up to people who've been there, done that in my industry, and actually even out of my industry, because business, you could take my exact model for this landscape company and completely put it into a different company, and I think you'd find success. Some minor tweaks and you'd be off and running. So I definitely looked to other people for advice, and some of the advice was great. Some of it was implemented and it didn't work for my specific company or the person that I needed it to work on. But I think that the people that you hire, someone who's making $15 as a college intern for our company isn't going to have the same accountability as someone who's making $30, $35 an hour, managing a crew. And I think that when that we've hired, people in my company that have that accountability, they help instill that in the younger people. And I've watched guys go from laborer to lead on a crew and even now foreman on a crew. And it's really cool to see the level up and where they're going to take the company. So I think a lot of it comes from me, from other people, and from people above within the company, above other people. A lot of the struggles, I would say, in the company, this is not pertaining to the question, but I think it's life in general. People are like, oh, you're so lucky. Like,
must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice. You have all this stuff, and no one looks at the struggles that actually go with all of my employees. For the most part, when they leave, when they punch out at 5, 6, if they're listening to this, they know they worked till 7 last night. They're probably going to give me crap. But when they punch out, they really don't have to worry about anything. I get phone calls till 9 p.m. Some bigger clients, I will take those phone calls. When I wake up at 6 in the morning, I'll get phone calls at 6 in the morning. Sometimes I'll have a call before I even woke up. And my phone never shuts off. I just got back from a week out in Wyoming. I got phone calls the entire time. I had to go through 100 emails while I was gone. We're at a point in the company where definitely need to hire some more people to help solve those problems, and I'm excited for our off season to work on those. But that is one thing that, as a business owner listening to this, or someone who wants to do this, when you take this step, it's never going to shut off, and you have to find peace in knowing that, and it's not just luck. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of effort. It's going to be hard to start out. There's a reason only certain people do it. There's a reason people work for me and you and they're not doing their own thing. Some people are built for it. Some people aren't. But in my opinion, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And like we just did a job that we finished today. I got the text when we were sitting out there in your lobby. We just finished this job. I got that job because we were on our way to a company outing for a Brewer game. and I bumped the car in front of me because I thought they were going, and it was just a little kiss. It left a little scratch. It was like an $800 fix. I paid for it. The lady was building a house and needed her landscape done. And she called me because she was asking what I did. They actually own an electric company. And I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm in the trades. I'll fix this, whatever you need. And at first she was very mad. I was getting yelled at. It was her kid. He had just turned 16. Awesome kid. He handled it awesome. And long story, we ended up getting the job after, a couple bids back and forth. We got the job. So my $800 goof up turned into I don't know what the job was, $31,000 landscape install, where I'm sure we hit our normal profit margins.
You gotta start hitting more cars.
So I guess the answer is go hit as many cars as you can and look for opportunity. But that's the thing is I was prepared. When I hit that car, the stuff on the back end of my life we were prepared, and the opportunity. And I think opportunities are going to come out of the areas you're not looking for them. That's where you're going to get your big breaks in life. That's where you're going to find answers that you never thought you'd have. And so that's why I really like that quote about luck, because I don't know if luck is a thing. I think
it's a thing.
But I think it's people being out there, though. Like, you were, okay, now people will say, well, that's still lucky you hit the car or whatever. But you're already out there because you have your business. You're going on an outing. And just being involved more in going and doing stuff, luck will seem to find you more. You know where luck's not going to find me? If I'm just sitting at home
Absolutely.
watching Netflix all the time. I mean, perhaps there's some way that it can find me on my couch, but not really. The people that are running into luck are because they're actually creating those avenues and putting themselves out there to be able to meet those lucky opportunities.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it better.
So Mike, the reason you got that job is because of how you reacted in that situation, right? Had you been screaming and yelling at them and would have handled it differently, you wouldn't have got that job. You wouldn't have had that opportunity. So we've talked through many difficult situations, difficult clients that you've had to face, and like tough conversations that you've had to have. And we've talked through those before. What have you learned from having those tough conversations?
I think the tough conversations are the days you look least forward to, but the days that your company either grows or doesn't. And there's been so many. It's hard to even think of them because we've had so many even so recently, whether it's employee-based or client-based. But how you get through those determines the success of your company as a whole. And I would say that you need to, and I'm not as good at this. I actually look to you in a lot of ways for this. But to be able to make a non-emotional business decision is one of the hardest things to do. And I don't know if you'll ever completely do it, but if you can get better at that, and I'm working on it every day, that is going to really help step you up to the next level.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest days every year are the days where we grow from year to year. There's been some big jobs we've been on this year with many different, we have some subcontractors that work for us. A lot of big things were happening, and it's some of the minor things for a homeowner are some of the biggest problems for us. And I think how you handle those, being a good, respectable person, doing what's right, is always going to put you one step ahead, and it's going to grow your business. And actually, that's how you're going to get business in the first place. Is people aren't going to buy you for what you do. They're going to buy, at least in the service industry, they're going to buy you for you. And so when I'm up against different competition, I really try to make a point to be me. And when I get, we have a very high percentage of contract landing that isn't because our work's, and I'd like to think our work's better than other companies, at least from what I've looked at, but that's not what I sell to people on. I sell them on what makes our company, and the people that are going to show up at their door are going to be people that they can trust to leave the garage door open with, people that if they have a question, they don't need to call me. They can go talk to any single guy that's at their property. They can exchange numbers. They can do anything. And that is what helps us level up every single year.
Yeah, that's great.
How much does, because obviously you're a man of faith, like how much does faith play a role in that for you and just the vision of your company?
I always like to talk about faith. I'm open about it. I think that it's something that's lacking from our society, and it's a big contributor of all the problems we have. Not to get into that, but I definitely open up to people about faith. You know, if I see someone with a cross necklace on when we're doing our meeting, I like to make a point to talk about that. I think that brings comfort to some people. I think there's a quiet faith out there. You know, you're seeing less people go to church these days, but I still think people have a strong faith at home. I'd like to see more people go to church, but when you can bring that into a conversation, I think that helps. I think that builds a trust with the person. I think that it helps build a trust within your company. I often, when we have meals together, or I'm with an employee, or we're out to lunch, or I have a meeting, I like to make it a point to pray. Or even just when someone in the company has family that's struggling, we pray openly, and I wish we did it more than we do, but I try to make a point of doing it. And I think that it builds a bond between your employees, between your clients, that is hard to break once you build it.
And it's such, I mean, it's so much deeper and more meaningful than doing a landscape job, right?
Totally.
That you're in fellowship with other believers, and you're calling out on the mission that God has for you. And when obstacles come and there's tough clients and your guys screw up on a job, there's more to life than that. So, I mean,
Totally.
In regards to obstacles in our Wednesday morning meetings, I feel like we go through the same stuff, right? Like you were talking about before, you could take the same business model and the same issues applied to something else, and it would be similar, like completely separate businesses that we have, but we're dealing with the same stuff, the same problems, just different people, different occupations. But I think
it's kind of cool because I totally have taken a problem you've had, learned from it, applied it when it happened to me.
Same here. Yep.
So it's a lot is to be learned, and I learn from other business owners just like you guys do. So,
well, I can honestly say that I haven't learned from any of your guys' problems. So I guess I'm alone here on the island.
So, for somebody who's younger, they're interested in starting a landscape business, where do they start?
I would start by go on Facebook. It's so much easier to get something now than it was even 10 years ago. You can go on Facebook, Craigslist, eBay, whatever it is, get a cheap mower. You don't even have to go to the place I did. They do have some 0% interest places out there. They've made it easier to get credit in some ways and not in some others. I started out, I had enough to pay for my mower when I mowed enough lawns with a push mower to get to that point. But it's very easy to go out there, knock on some doors, start with mowing, start with simple jobs, go to Fleet Farm, buy yourself a $500 trailer, do whatever you got to do to get some boots on the ground, even if it's your boots. Learn your industry, learn how to deal with people. In the service industry, it doesn't matter if you're a garbage man, doesn't matter if you're a lawnmower, it doesn't matter if you're a cook. Just own your own garbage truck, own your own trailer, own your own restaurant. That is, I think, one of the keys is to whatever you decide to do, own it. And I think it's going to take you places.
I like it. And Keegan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've talked about the importance of having a really good workbench too. Being a landscaper.
Gotta have a good workbench.
Where for you and your company, where is your workbench?
Well, we got a really big one at the shop that we hang all our tools on, and old granddad said his favorite workbench is at home.
There you go.
In the bedroom.
Nice. You dirty dog.
Oh, man.
So let's shift gears. Explain, because you guys, at least I'm coining the phrase best friends. You're at least up there. You guys would be in your MySpace top 5. What's it like being best friends with Austin? Because people who have tuned into the show have heard a lot of the stuff, but what's it like being super close and intimate with Austin?
It's unique. I know a lot of people who listen to this are from lacrosse, and he's got a bad reputation for being a lazy bum lately. But
whatever.
It's great. I love Austin. I learn from him daily. I think we learn from each other. Best business relationship, best friendship I have. It started as friends, and it's grown to be so much more. I look to him in many ways, whether that's business, faith, friendship. He's got a wife now who's here, and I look to him for advice on that stuff as well. It's awesome.
Wow, that was really sweet and romantic.
Not to bromance more, but having Mike as a friend, having somebody who is at a similar place financially and in business that we do. We have Bible study and we talk through business stuff every Wednesday morning. And I've told so many other people this, having that person to talk with that I can relate to. If we weren't friends, I would not have anybody that I don't know anybody else that's our age, that's in a similar spot in their business, at least within my group of people. Sorry. But you know what I mean? That the stuff we talk about, we are going through the same stuff, and we build off of each other and what we're going through and learn from each other. And so I'm super, super thankful for that.
Me too.
Wow.
And we are in business.
If you got a heart in the middle of us,
I feel inappropriate being here. If the viewers could feel the electricity in the room, it feels like I should just back out and let you guys go, because that was weird.
I think it's because Becca's here.
Right. So what about you away from business? What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? Let's imagine that nobody's calling you. Okay, you turn your phone on silent. Who's Mike away from business?
Mike is someone who likes to enjoy the outdoors. I love hunting and fishing. Actually, I live for it, and it's that time of year now, so I'm pretty excited. But I also have a girlfriend of 4 years now, Dana, who probably won't even listen to me on this. And but she's doing good. She's in OT school, and I have a lot of friends here in Milwaukee. Up north, I have a cabin, so I like to spend a lot of my time there. And then when I'm not doing landscaping, me and Austin are in a business together, which we haven't brought up yet. But that occupies a little bit of my time as well, doing some house flipping. And not to go back to landscaping, but in the beginning we talked about, landscaping's just a stepping stone.
Yeah.
In many ways it has been.
Yep.
It's opened my eyes to so many different business opportunities. I own a storage facility off of I-39. I have the Ideal Home Buyers with you, where we flip homes. I own a bunch of rentals and a landscape company. So I stay very busy. There's not much free time. I have to make that time. And
make it though.
We make it, but our number one core value for my landscape company is balance. That's our number one core value. And I have not been the best representation of that to myself, my girlfriend, my family, my employees. I haven't been living the most balanced life. I think that I'm slowly switching gears here to make that transition to becoming more balanced. But that is something that I actually, as a human, need to work on, because at the end of the day, money isn't everything. Business isn't everything. It definitely has changed my life, but I can't have it negatively change my life either.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, if you have a lot of money, but you can't play or live.
Money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be used as
we have some time off, because I can always assume if I'm calling Austin because I have a question or a problem and he doesn't pick up his phone, there is a 96.7% chance that he's out golfing or fishing or hunting with Mike. So you are the root of all of my problems.
Ouch.
Just kidding. But the Mike thing is true. I'm not actually upset or mad about it. Would love to get invited,
It's funny he doesn't answer your calls. He answers mine every time.
Right.
I'm sure he does. I know. I want to see what he has me in. Oh my gosh. He probably has that he has a special ringtone for me. It's like bump,
Right.
bum every time. No wonder he doesn't answer.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, anything else that you want to talk through that we haven't talked about?
I just want young people out there to know that no matter where they're at right now, you could be 15, 25, 35, 55. I continually try to push my parents into finding avenues of putting money business-wise to help grow themselves, that pray on it. Think about what avenue might be best for you. Where does your heart really lie? Because I truly think when you pray hard enough on it, it could take a year, it could take 5 years. You will find the answer. I don't know if I chose landscaping. I kind of feel like it found me. And so I'm not here telling everyone to go start mowing grass, but I am telling everyone to really sit back and think about what they're doing and focus on where they want to be. I think when we did traction, you look at it and you're like, all right, where do I want to be in 10 years? And that's great for a business model, but set yourself aside and say, well, where do I want to be in 10 years? Because one of the biggest things I looked at was, what do I want to have? What do I want to be doing? Where do I see myself in 10 years, and how am I going to do that? And I think when you start to look at it that way, it transforms the way you go about achieving it. And so if I was in pharmacy, if I did a second year residency, I would just be finishing that now. I would be $200,000 in debt. I would be struggling to find my first job because it's a very tough market right now for pharmacy. And my life would be completely different. In fact, I know I wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah, totally.
And I wouldn't have got to experience the awesome travels, business successes and failures, and even the learning opportunity. I feel pharmacy school would have been a lot of work mentally to get through, but I feel like I've learned so much more outside of that world of academia. Actually, I almost feel like it's a bubble where 90% of what you learn there doesn't pertain to real life. And a lot of the people who are amazing at school, outside of school, have real world problems. And I think that business helps you learn those real world problems and helps you find the path to success much faster than, school avenues. I'm a big advocate of the trades. I don't know if we want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But in school, I don't know if you guys had this. College, push for college.
Big time.
I remember my Woods teacher in high school was like, you shouldn't go to college. I'm like, dude, I'm going to be a pharmacist. I'm going to make way more money than any construction guy in the world. And I had no idea. I had no idea what the world of business was, what the trades was like. I always looked at construction as kind of down, like, oh, that guy didn't go to college. He's a lesser. My friends that are in trades make more money now than a lot of my friends with college degrees, and they've been doing it for 6 years longer while my friends have been racking up college degrees. So I push the trades a little bit. If you don't want to run your own business, look at the trades, because it's going to be a profession that is extremely understaffed right now, and you're going to see some huge pay raises throughout the next 5 years as the older generation steps away from it. Because right now the trades is occupied by 80% of the trades is 40 years or older, and we need to fill that void. That could be our next problem in this country, honestly.
Totally. Working in the trades is ancient.
But I think a big encouragement for young people, if you are in high school and or you are going through college and you have that gut feeling that this isn't for me, but you can continue to do it because of what other people think or because you think that's the right path, but you really have that gut feeling that this isn't for me. Like you said, you would be just getting out of pharmacy school now. Like, think of all that you've learned.
That's wild.
Crazy.
Aside from all of the money that you've made, but like, you have set your life up for a very, very good path. Now, life, not take finances out of it. Like, you have built the foundation for your life in the past 5 years that you would have otherwise been going to school and doing, and maybe you would have had that realization, and if you wouldn't have listened to God in that moment, maybe you would have been having that realization now after getting out and getting the job. How miserable would that be to go through that, to get the job, and then to make that decision and have $200,000 in debt and start to go do it? So I would just encourage any young person, if you have that gut feeling and you are younger and you are not married with kids or after college and have all this debt, like, really, really do some thinking and praying and make a decision on that now. Because you can always go back. You can always go back to school. You can go back to be a pharmacist now if you wanted, if you hated landscaping, right?
Absolutely. Even if you did, whatever it was, you got through a 4-year degree and you're like, hey, I really hate this. You don't have to stick it out.
Yeah.
Even if you're on rock bottom, you've probably heard this before, but rock bottom is the best place to build on.
Yep.
There is no better place than to build except rock bottom. It's hard to build a structure if it's not on a solid foundation.
Yep.
So that, I don't know if I was at rock bottom when I made that decision, but I think I would be now. So
yeah. Cool.
So then, lastly, you mentioned that one thing that you like to do is, like that 10-year mark where you want to be. So where do you see your company being, but where do you just personally as the man, like where do you want to be 10 years from now?
So I think
In Alaska with Austin on a
probably golf.
sheep hunt.
Yeah, something where you can't call me.
I'm going to Photoshop the Titanic picture of you two right now. Right here. It's going right here.
You should actually do that.
It's going. It's right here. You can see it. And it's done.
Yeah.
It's done.
We should probably buy him a drink tonight. He's a little salty.
Right. I'm jealous a little.
I think that a lot of my decisions now, could I be having way more fun right now if I took all the money, those 3 other business ventures that we talked about? Those required a significant amount of financial stuff to get started. It wasn't as easy as just buying a mower. I could totally be having more fun right now, but I try to stay balanced, live. You don't want to live for the future, right? Because tomorrow isn't promised. But if we're getting married, stuff's happening, you want to set yourself up to hope God blesses you with some more. So 10 years from now, I want to have I want to keep some of the guys. I want to keep every guy that's working for me right now, but I'd really like to see some of them step up and take over even more leadership roles. Guys that maybe they're running a skid steer excavator now are kind of maybe doing that part-time or not at all and doing more management stuff, which will help me focus on maybe just some of our bigger sales. We have a whole thing on the board at the office, but I think our 10-year goal from when we did it, which was a year or two ago, was 7 or 10 million in gross revenue with a 15 to 20% profit. When we had everything broke down to exactly what everything was, what we would need. But that's going to be for my company, our 10-year goal. For me personally, I'd like to be married with some kids and still traveling with Austin, and
not your kids,
and our kids, right, Becca? And
wink, wink,
wink.
I'm the only one up here with kids. I can attest. It is the greatest life. Kids, the best. Highly recommend.
That's awesome. But yeah, I would like to be a little bit more hands off with my companies. And focus on and let some of that hard work put in now and before work for itself. So what was that quote you sent me yesterday? Every dollar you spend comes back with prisoners or something.
Yep. Mr. Wonderful said it on Shark Tank. He said, when my dollars go out, they come back with prisoners.
I thought another good one was rather than having a pile of money, it's better to have a river of it. Yep. So I think you texted me that. That's a good one. So that's the goal, create a river of money.
Awesome.
There we go.
Well, thank you so much
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate it. Did we answer everything on here?
Mike, where can our listeners go to find out more about you and Davis Landscape?
Check out our Facebook. Check out me on Facebook. I really don't have...
Literally check them out.
I'm not super present on it. I don't make a million posts, but I have someone at the office who manages our Facebook page. I don't know if you want to throw my number on the bottom of it.
Sure.
Email. Austin can throw that on the bottom of this.
There you go. Everybody call him. He'll answer till 9 p.m.
Oh, man. But I'm happy to talk to anyone about starting a business. Yeah. It doesn't have to be landscaping. It could be literally anything. I'm in 4 different businesses right now. Yep. And would love to start more. So if you're trying to start a business, maybe I could be your next partner too.
Boom. So, well, there you go.
Must be nice.
Yeah. Must be nice. It's all a mindset.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Mike.
I appreciate it.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We sincerely hope that you found value in today's episode and heard one thing that you can take back and implement into your life today. As always, we appreciate your support and hope you can find a way this week to pay it forward.